Welcome again to It Doesn't Take a Genius, conversation with introspective perspectives and pithy points of view. Here are your hosts, my friends, Max and Marty.
I think that's Mark and Mike.
Yeah, whatever.
Ramsey!
Oh, Mr. Marshall, the fun we are going to have today.
You came up with this brilliant, you're the only person who, on a whim, could come up with a brilliant idea for an 8-series podcast.
Well, it's because somebody else did the work for me. It's gonna be great. But I think we must acknowledge at the get-go here, you have a background that I have heard you quote this background that you have many, many times, a little bit of the Princess Bride here. And of course, today we're talking about universal leadership qualities. We're talking about something that Plato wrote down. And that made you think of this. I know. I know you well enough to know this.
Yes. No, this was, and I'm glad you got it as soon as you saw it.
I laughed as soon as we came online on Zoom.
That makes me very happy. Yeah, the number one movie of all time is of course The Princess Bride.
Of course.
And the antagonist in the antagonist assistant is Vincini. Right. And he's been hired by Prince Humperdinch, and he's in a battle of wits with who we think is the Dread Pirate Roberts, but
right.
Spoiler alert. So the Dread Pirate Roberts asks him, "Are you that smart?" To which Vincini replies, "You've heard of Aristotle, Plato, Socrates?" "Yes, I have." "Morons." So that's how simple my brain is. As soon as you said we were going to be talking about Plato and Aristotle and all these guys, I was like, that's all I can think of.
It's perfect. It's just perfect. Well, it's a great way to launch into this because and you and I have talked about this before. And it's like parenting, right? Like I have great parents, and I became a parent, and I was like, this will be great. I've had great role models. This will be easy. I didn't say easy, but at the same time, I realized maybe by year 2 that I had no idea what was going on. And that has only increased as time has gone on. Like I feel like I'm getting stupider in my parenting, so in Socrates' day, there would have been the sophists, the wise men who wandered from town to town, making money, mainly teaching the rich people things, and especially things that might be a little on the manipulative side, I think Socrates would have said. And then meanwhile, Socrates is a philosopher. He's a lover of wisdom, where the sophists were the wise men. He's a lover of wisdom. So he doesn't even claim to be wise. And of course, he goes down as one of the wisest, men that we have in the Western tradition. So I come at this very, very cautiously, saying, I don't have any of this down. I just know this is genius stuff to pass on. And it's just like amateur. The word amateur comes from love, the Latin for love. I love this stuff. I'm not sure I'm even qualified to say that I'm proficient at it. I'm reading this stuff, and it's really cool, and I want to share it with people who are working on their leadership.
I think it's fantastic. And when you think about, Plato, Aristotle, Alexander, all these guys, and you think, okay, when they had this discussion, when they talked about that, what did they think was important? And the fact that the list has survived for centuries and centuries and centuries, and it's been passed down, and it's now in our hands, and we're preparing to share it in the digital realm. It becomes okay. You can't ignore this at this point.
Right.
If it's lived on this long, you got to take a look. You got to say, what is there of value here that still genuinely applies to the 21st century that we're living in?
Yeah, and that would be, I think, what would tickle Socrates and Plato the most here, is that we would wrestle with this a little bit, not even agree with it all, kind of argue with it a little bit, and that's why it's worth sharing, because this is something. I mean, we're talking about the gentleman who basically spread Greek thought, humanist thought through civilization at the time. So this is always sort of the broad brushstroke I paint, but Socrates, tutored Plato, Plato tutored Aristotle, Aristotle tutored Alexander the Great, who conquers the known world. And so we get the spread of Greek thought throughout the most of the known world at the time. And Greco-Roman thought sort of comes from that little seed. A lot of the Romans would have idolized Alexander for the empire he created. They would have hired Greeks. Well, I say hired. They were basically slaves. So they had slaves tutoring their children in Greek. You get to Augustine, and in his autobiography, I guess he was in the 300s, 400s AD, and he's talking about, oh, it was so terrible. I had to learn Greek as a kid. I wish I had just, had Latin like every other, Roman would have known as Latin, but I had to learn Greek. And well, so this is still stuff that we are talking about today because of what they salvaged out of this whole tradition. So today we're talking about Plato's Republic. And obviously nobody alive today agrees with everything in the Republic, and yet here it is as a foundational text. And oh, by the way, it's talking about who should be in charge and what qualities they should have. So that is a tiny little part of what the Republic is about, and that's some of what we want to share today.
Well, I think that's fantastic, and just so you know, for both our listeners, that we're not going to require you to learn Greek or Latin in order to participate in this conversation. And so just know that, for the next 8 podcasts to follow, they will all be in English.
Yeah, amen to that. And I will also say, just in case, because I do have some friends who are philosophy professors, and they might look at this without rolling their eyes. I don't know. We'll see. But I think for their sake, I'm going to say this. The Republic is really about studying morality, justice, like what really is the essence of that. And they use this metaphor of a republic, of a city, a regime that's set up. It's fictitious. It's an analogy meant to study morality, to study justice. And so in the course of this, we get this list of qualities that Socrates has Plato say in the Republic are, really the things that are just essential qualities for these what are called philosopher kings, who are going to be in charge of this city. So for what that's worth, I've said that out loud. The book isn't really about here's how leaders should run a city. It's actually about morality. The analogy is used here to talk about that. So.
Well, and I thought it was interesting in an article that you wrote, where you talked about the person we want to serve is the philosopher king. However, the philosopher king will never seek to serve out of ambition.
Right.
But they will serve out of an obligation to help others and help the cause.
Yeah.
And when you look at some of the leaders in our world today, you're thinking, okay.
Oh my.
Yeah, we're all the great philosopher kings, right? The philosopher leaders. And we have all these people with incredible ambition to hold an office, but maybe not all the attributes that Socrates laid out in order to serve well.
Right.
So,
right. That's what impresses me about the list is, and you'll see, today we're just going to read it so you get the list. And as we go through each of the future episodes, we'll take one of these 8 qualities as I parse them out to talk about. But the thing that's so funny about this list is if it doesn't nail you to the wall in some way, you might want to have people speak truth to you more often. If there's not something here that you take as an opportunity for growth for yourself, maybe have a dose of wisdom and sober up or something because this is I think it's fairly comprehensive. It is. And as we've said with our previous podcasts, when we did the
20 bad interpersonal behaviors.
Right.
If you're not sure which ones you're doing, just hand the list to somebody. They'll let you know where you need work. So this comes at a completely different angle. This comes from a positive standpoint. Here are these positive attributes that
Right.
these great leaders possess. And if you don't think you're short on anyone, just hand the list to somebody. They'll gladly fill
They'll
you
help
in.
you.
Yeah, they'll help you out. They'll lend you a hand. They'll pull the wool, off of your eyes. They'll remove
right.
your rose-colored glasses.
That's
They
exactly
will,
right.
you'll
Now, I
have to
should
see
say
light.
these are he describes these as the natural qualities. So I wonder if Socrates or Plato would have even said that what we're talking about is doable. This is just stuff you're either born with or you're not. Maybe that's what they would have said. I happen to disagree with an aspect of that, and so I think it's worth us considering these as qualities that we can develop within ourselves and be better. So.
Well, no, I think you're right. I think we've evolved over time where there was the born leader, and now we've realized that leadership is a skill that can be learned.
Yeah.
And so we see that more and more. So without further ado, I'll just read through the 8. One of them struck me as highly amusing. So I'm very excited about episode 3. So here we go. So if you're looking at a universal list of leadership qualities, here are the 8. A high degree of reliability, makes sense. Courage, and I like that it's just one word, just courage. All right, and then number 3, very good looking.
Naturally.
We're going to have to talk.
Yep.
Yeah. Natural talent for studies, sharp and quick at learning. I like that.
Yeah.
A good memory, tenacious.
Mm-hmm.
There again, yeah, I like the courage, tenacious, right? Just one word, summing it all up. Enjoys all kinds of work, physical and mental.
Mm-hmm.
I found that interesting, and that's going to make a great conversation. And then the last one, not handicapped in the context of truth, such as despising overt lying from others or oneself, yet putting up with unconscious lying or defensive excuses.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, what's so great about this list is every single one of these words, I can think about somebody today who emphasizes them in their leadership books, their podcasts, their curriculums that they sell. Some of these have been well researched. Some of them we've tried to get away from, and we just can't because the research shows that they're a big deal. So and here's some dudes in the BC era who had this list sort of baked before we did anything in the modern research sense. So I want to talk about each of these, and I want to talk about them right now. But for now, I think what we want to do is just leave you with this list of 8 in the context of sort of thinking about how they came about and what we plan on doing with them. But leave you with this list of 8 thinking about what do these mean to you, and what immediately jumps out at you as one of the words here that you just say, ooh, either maybe that's a strength for me, or maybe it's wow, I don't even consider that something that could be a strength. Like what how is that even on the list? Including very good looking. I'm gonna go ahead and say that. Say that.
Well, I'm glad to know that I've got at least one of them down.
Right.
I feel very comfortable about that. I have 7 more to work on.
My papa would say he always wanted to be old, rich, and good looking, and 1 out of 3 ain't bad. So
that's right. Yeah, he's doing all right. So also when we think about one of the exercises we have our people do when we're talking about leadership is to think back upon their life and who were the leaders in your life that exhibited and demonstrated these qualities.
Yeah.
And so sometimes we've had that, and then we've had the people who their sole purpose in life seems to be to serve as an example of what not to do.
Right.
So we've had people who were lacking these qualities in a leadership role, and think about what was the impact on you if you were on that team, if you were part of that organization. And so you get a sense of how dramatically positive this could be and how dramatically negative it can be from a leadership standpoint.
Great point. The last thing I would say, Mike, is just keep an open mind as you consider this, because on a couple fronts, as we get into unpacking some of these words, you may find that, maybe it's a bigger deal than you realized. And B, you may get a new definition of this word. This word may mean something to you right now that is just a tiny surface amount of the depth that's there encapsulated in that word or phrase or concept. And so we're going to hope to kind of try to unpack that, as we try to do with It Doesn't Take a Genius. We're going to give some theory and some background, and for me, it's classical thought. But we're going to talk about this very practically. So anyway, I'm excited.
Oh, now this is good. This is good. So
Yeah.
this is the trailer.
Yeah. Right.
This is awesome. All right. So we'll have the list, the 8 in the description below. And as always, stay tuned. A whole lot of good stuff's coming up. So with that, let's throw it over to our announcer, who's very good looking, by the way.
Sorry to laugh. Sorry.
And that's a wrap. It Doesn't Take a Genius, the blog dedicated to reducing the irreducible. Next time, prime numbers. What makes them so special? Join us then, and thanks for listening.
That's good enough.